It's my honor to introduce our next guest. We're going to go a little back-to-back here. This is former linebacker of the University of Notre Dame, Mr. Frank Stams. Frank, how you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on the show.
Take a look at that interception as Jackson falls. No problem yet. He's going to get a hit from the right side. The men come back. He never even saw him.
No, he really took a lick. And the reaction by the... Big Frank.
Yeah, baby.
It's our pleasure. It sounds like you had a baseball game tonight?
We're in the top of the sixth here. It's a little league game. We got the lead 8-6, and bases are loaded with 2 outs. We need some insurance runs here.
Awesome.
I heard the previous guest talking about coaching, and that's the extent of my coaching right now, coaching a little league kid.
Hey man, it's all about fun, right? I know Rick Meyer's coaching football over like elementary football too.
Let me tell you something. It's as cool at this level as it is at the highest level. You know, baseball's baseball. I don't care what level you're coaching. Same with football. It's just good stuff.
Absolutely. I can watch any baseball. I'm that kind of guy. All right, Frank, well, I got the interview started with you. Kind of curious to kind of get your idea on this. You know, you were a big part of Notre Dame. You were on a national championship team. What stood out to you when you were being recruited by Notre Dame? What made you say, I've got to go there?
Well, you know, I recently read an article by Laura Myers in USA Today magazine, and she just nailed it. You know, we were talking about whether or not Notre Dame should be part of a conference. And to me, you know, the attraction there was you're playing Southern Cal out there 1 year. You're playing in South Florida. You're playing in Death Valley. You're playing LSU. You know, you're playing Navy in the Midlands. That's why I went to Notre Dame. Notre Dame, and of course, you know, I'm a little biased here, but it's just recognized nationally, if not worldwide.
Absolutely, I gotta agree with you there. Just so everyone knows, this is Down the Line, the New Indian Nation Network with Frank Stams. Now, Frank, you were a part of a national championship team. You were a linebacker on that team with the infamous Three Amigos. When you look back at that year, you know, the great games you guys played, obviously the Miami game, beating West Virginia title, what means the most to you about when you look back at that season?
Yeah, well, without a doubt, the players and the coaches. Yeah, I look back and you know, the players, Richard Stonebreaker, Andy Heck, Tony Rice, you talk about great chemistry. I mean, it was just it. You had a little mixture of Faust guys with Holtz's recruits, and, you know, I mean, we're just a bunch of guys flying around. You know, Holtz takes over that team, and in 3 short years, we go undefeated. He's got a staff. Barry Alvarez was my position coach. We love Barry. That first year, Foch Fazio was the defensive coordinator. Joe Moore on the offensive side was the offensive line coach. You talk about a guy tough as nails. That's exactly what we needed there. He took Andy Heck from a tight end to a tackle. Guy played 14 years in the NFL. He's currently coaching. Last I heard, was the head offensive line coach with the Jacksonville Jaguars. You know, Tony Rice is making things go in the veer option. I mean, it was just magic. And what got us going was that first game against Michigan. Michigan comes out, and that was a smash-mouth game, low-scoring game. Defense wins that game. You know, then later on, you know, a couple weeks later, Michigan's got Miami at home, and Miami has to come back and beat that game. So people knew Michigan was for real, and we knew we had a team because we're playing, you know, Michigan tough. So, you know, then we look at the middle of that season in Miami. That's we'll just fast forward a little bit. Big hurdle there. They're coming to town. We've not been strong against them in the last 3 or 4 years. All the swagger in the world, all the talent in the world. And the offense wins that game, 31-30. And then, of course, we got the ball rolling. And then we end up at Southern Cal. We ended up being the underdog in that game because, you know, we sent a couple players home that morning, which was a gutsy call by Lou. And, you know, we win that game, and then he makes the right decision playing West Virginia in the national championship. And it just was magical how everything fell into place.
Yeah, absolutely. For those listening, like I said, if you're just catching in, this is Down the Line with Mr. Frank Stams. For those who aren't aware, Frank is a Akron, Ohio man. He is the most famous athlete from Akron, Ohio, not named
right.
LeBron James.
Now, listen, LeBron and I went to the same high school. It used to be the high school I went to until LeBron came along. But, yeah, that is true.
At St. Vincent St. Mary?
That's right. I was my alma mater. I was 84. And I was actually down there, part of that staff coaching when he was down there. Quick story, he's hanging out on the fence watching he as a freshman. And I said to the coaches, I said, who is that guy? And they said, well, that's part of the crew coming in the basketball team. You know, we had a first-year coach, Keith Dambrot, at St. Vincent State Mary, who now is the head coach at the University of Akron, doing great job there. He brings in all these guys playing AAU, and, you know, I went over and started playing catch with LeBron. I said, man, this guy, he's something else. You know, he played football until his junior year, and then he said, hey, you know, I'm going to be in the NBA in a couple of years, so I might want to think twice about playing my senior year, but kid was a heck of a talent. Well, I don't need to tell your audience that.
Yeah, that's the truth. You know, we actually had this conversation with Jerome Sapp last week, kind of getting his thoughts on the person that is LeBron. Why do you feel he is so misunderstood?
Who, LeBron?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I mean, he's misunderstood because I don't misunderstand LeBron. He's probably, you know, made that one mistake there, and it wasn't even a mistake for him. He's doing best by what what he wants in his professional career and what he wants to experience. Now, it's how he did it. I think being here a native of Northeast Ohio that everybody has a problem with. It's how he did it, and you know, if that's the worst thing in the world that he does, you know, I mean, that's a big deal. I mean, we all read the stories about, you know, players and the press and all that. So, you know, that's the ugly side of sports. That's the business side. Probably a decision that he regrets doing. If he had to do it again, he'd probably take it over. You know, there's a lot of anger here in Northeast Ohio because of that, and I think, you know, that spreads. You know, you either like him or you love him, and I think there's with that decision, it just put people on one side of the fence or the other.
And Frank, my last question to you before I pass you on to my co-host Jason. When you were on to the NFL, you were playing for the LA Rams for your first few years there. You know, football in LA is kind of a big thing. You know, it's a big debate each and every year in the NFL. Do you feel from your time there that it's important to put a team back in LA?
Well, it was interesting. You know, when the Browns leave town here in '95, there was some core players that hung around. And I forget who the guy was that the NFL sent into town to kind of keep the fever alive, get things going. But I asked him that question. He said, well, Frank, he goes, why would we want to put a team in L.A., you know, when you got the second largest market in the United States and the Coliseum's not selling out, you know, so we're blacking out that market. So really to me, there's no incentive. There's no incentive to put a team in there because it's just economically or it's just not it's not a good move. So I don't see any hurry. I mean, you know, you got a lot of competition. When I was with the Rams, you know, they left after I left. You know, you got a lot of competition for the entertainment dollar out there. So, you know, is it important to have a team in LA? As far as the NFL is concerned, I don't think so. Or they had to put one in there.
Yeah, that's a valid point. I was just kind of curious your thoughts there because you did spend some time there. Well, Frank, I know I just had a few quick questions for you. I really appreciate you answering for me. I'm going to pass you on to my co-host, Jason. He had a few more for you.
Okay. Hey, Frank, great. Jason here.
Hey, Jason.
Hey, Frank. Oh, man, everything's great. You know, I want to talk to you a little bit about the Irish Legends trip to Dublin this year, and that's going to benefit Katie's Way. You know, what are your thoughts on that organization and the great things that they're doing?
I think it's great. I mean, I've run katiesway.org, and I'll tell you, after reading that, it's just, you know, it's moving because, you know, what happened to that young lady is just, it's tragic. And, you know, that charity is going to support, that trip to Ireland is going to support that charity, and I just think it's a great cause. And I'm looking to have a great time for the people that come aboard the trip. And I think, you know, sharing that with my teammates, some of the teammates like Stonebreaker and Pritchett have been on your show. We're all going over, and, you know, we're going to enjoy a great weekend over in Dublin and play some golf and watch a great football game with a lot of excitement, and then support an organization like Katie's Way is just outstanding.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's a great cause, and anybody listening, please go and check out katieways.org. And look into the package for the Ireland trip. You're gonna get to be around a lot of great Notre Dame alumni and former players, and you're gonna have a heck of a time. Yeah, speaking of Wes and Michael Stonebreaker and yourself, you guys are the three amigos, and I'm from the South Bend area, and I'm one of the older guys in the group here, and I got to actually used to cover Notre Dame football on home game weekends for one of the local stations here, and I always got to always heard different stories, and we know about the hoagie stealing and all that stuff. But what's one of the stories that you or not better yet pranks? What's one of the better pranks that you guys? I know you and Wes were famous for the pranks. What was one that you remember?
I'll tell you, I remember, some of the stuff just kept things alive there. Wes smoking a cigar in the huddle during practice. I'm sure everybody's heard about that. There was a lot of fun, with that. Some of the other things, like stealing a hoagie but that's probably one of the biggst memories, there. Just Wes smoking a cigar in the huddle. I'm sitting there, dog tired during one of the practices, and I started sniffing the cigar, and I'm thinking, what the heck's going on here? And there during practice, he had stolen one of the cigars from one of the beat reporters, and brought it into the huddle with him, and the coaches just loved that, and they ate that up, and it was just great memories. Guys kept it loose. There's a lot of reasons to be tight. We'd never been there before. As far as we just lost. Oh no, it's close now. We thought we were going to lose the game. It just kept them things loose. We've never been there before. Heck, we were undefeated. None of us had ever sniffed anything like that. There's a lot of reasons for us to be tight and fold our tents, but little things like that kept it loose and enjoying ourselves.
Yeah, it's absolutely really fun to read about that, and anybody who can get a chance, go and Google any of you three guys, and you'll bring up articles and stuff written about it. It's really hilarious. That's really all I had for you. I know Steve had one thing for you, so I'll pass it on to him. I appreciate you coming on the show, and good luck to your team there. They're making a lot of noise. So let's hope they keep it going.
We're about to lose the game, but I appreciate that. Thanks for having me on, and mentioning Katie's Way and the trip to Ireland. I think it's just going to be good stuff.
Okay, I wanted to ask you, you played on the 89-91 Los Angeles Rams, one of my heroes and one of my favorite coaches ever. Doug Smith was your center, and I wanted to hear firsthand what it was like going against practice with all-pro center Doug Smith.
That was a great offensive line there. Jackie Slater, Herb Hanke played the other tackle. Smith was the anchor there. Went to Bowling Green here in Northwest Ohio. But you talk about professionals. You talk about guys to learn the game from and their approach. It was just solid. What I remember from Doug, he was just a solid guy, all-around good guy. Always had something nice to say, and just a big-time professional.
That's what I wanted to hear, and he was my coach in junior college. I never played better under anyone than him, and it was really cool doing the research, finding out you played under him. And also on that, you said Jackie Slater, amazing team. We're going to let you go, Frank. We really appreciate your time. Want to make sure you get back to that game, and that was the only question I had for you. We're going to be plugging way stuff, and we really appreciate it.
Well, Steve, it makes a difference. A good coach makes a difference, and I appreciate that. Sorry, I got to cut this short, but the team's in the dugout, and we just finished our season. And I want to thank you for having me on the team, talk a little bit of Notre Dame football, Rams football, and things going on. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Frank. Appreciate it.
Have a good night.